All right, my name is George Martin. My wife Abbie and I are the event supervisors for Simple Machines. In this iteration, this is the third year of doing this event. Figured out this morning that I've been an event supervisor now for 19 years. Sign in and handouts are on the back. Yeah, we did this event for a number of years and did a couple other events in between, and now we're back to doing Simple Machines again. So, anyway, the first thing that you should all be familiar with is the Macomb Science Olympiad website, macombso.org. If you have not been there, please go there and look for the event. At that website, you will find the event rules, and you will also find a copy of the handout. This year's handout may take a day or two to get up there. However, if you print off last year's handout, it's the same thing, except, like I said, some of the questions are going to be scored as 2-point questions instead of 1. That's the only change. Okay. Okay, at that website you will also find the slides and a video of a workshop that I gave 2 years ago on this event. It's all still good information, it's all still valid, so it's still there. You will also find a place to submit questions and a place to look for frequently asked questions. Last year's questions have already been removed. I probably would have left them since nothing really changed, but that wasn't my decision. When you go to post a question, please look to see if that question's already been asked and answered before you submit. Okay, so let's talk about the format for this event. The event is going to have 10 stations, and their students will be allowed 2 minutes per station, and they'll answer 10 questions at each station. Okay. I have at the county, same way as the districts, I'm going to have 30 minutes to bring 20 teams of kids in the room, get them settled down, give them instructions, run them through their 10 stations, and get them out so that I can reset for the next session. This is a pretty intense 30 minutes. Coaches and parents are not going to be allowed in the room to watch. Okay, as I said, 10 stations, but I said 20 teams. There will be 2 identical sets of 10 stations set up in that room. They'll be set up in a circle so that the children can start at any station. They simply have to go clockwise around the circle, moving every 2 minutes, and they'll hit all 10 stations, they'll be done. Okay. What will they find at a station? When they get to the station, they will find a test booklet with the 10 questions for that station, taped down to the table. That way they don't walk. They will find, in most cases, they will find some object or lab setup or a set of pictures or some type of thing there for them to evaluate. Okay? And they will find an answer sheet. We will be using the Scantron answer sheet. This is what a Scantron sheet looks like. Okay? Most of your kids will already be familiar with these because they'll have used them for standardized testing in the schools, but maybe not all. At the website, you can print this. Fold it in half, and it looks like a Scantron sheet. Go ahead, Print off a bunch of them. Let the kids practice. But every year I get teams that show up at the county competition, and I get kids that have no idea how to fill one of those things out. I don't know how it happens, but it happens every year. I generally have to catch kids halfway through their first station and correct, because they'll circle. That doesn't get scored on by the machine. Or they'll put some sort of an X across it or a slash through it. That doesn't get scored. So make sure they know how to fill those things out. Okay. When I talk about an object, this object may be something as simple as a common hand tool, a pair of pliers, a hammer, a screwdriver, can opener. Common everyday objects that just happen to use a simple machine as part of how they work. Okay? Most of the stations, that's what they're going to find. There'll be one station in particular that's going to have a lap setup, what I call a lap setup. Basically, I've got a PVC pipe framework and I'll put pulley setups inside of it. Now, at that station, they know it's a pulley. So the questions at that station they're going to have other pictures to identify, that kind of thing. So, all right. All the test questions are essentially multiple choice. The number of choices may only be 2, yes, no, or true, false, but it's still a multiple choice type test. Okay, the first 5 questions at every station are going to ask the students to identify the machine. Now, let's take, for example, a can opener. They're going to look at this can opener, and I'm going to ask, and the first question on that test may be, does this object include a lever? Yes, no. Second question, does this object include a screw? Yes, no. Does this object have a pulley? Yes, no. And that may be the 5 questions. Now, a can opener is going to have a lever, it's going to have a wedge, and probably a wheel and axle. So there's 3 right there that may have to be answered yes. On the other hand, they may get a machine that's just, they may get a pry bar. What is it? It's a lever. About all it is a lever. If the edge is pointed, I may count wedge for that one. Yeah, I will. I did learn a long time ago, like, I used a pair of scissors one year, and I failed to recognize the fact that the 2 halves of the scissors were held together with a screw. So I had to give kids, anybody that answered screw, I had to give them credit for it. Since then, I found a pair of scissors that was riveted together, so I didn't have that problem anymore. But anyway, I'm not trying to trick the kids. I'm really not. They either know it or they don't. Okay. Those first 5 questions are all going to be worth 1 point. The next 5 questions are going to test their understanding of the concepts of simple machines. They may be asked to identify, I may ask them to make a measurement. I may ask them to measure the length of, say, the length of the effort arm. In a lever, the lever arm is the distance from where the effort is applied to the fulcrum. That's the lever arm. How long is it? Okay? If that lever arm is twice as long as the effort arm, then you're going to have a mechanical advantage of 2. I may ask them to tell me that. Okay. I reserve the right to ask them to make that measurement in either English units or metric. And the reason I'm going to do that is that I'm going to pick the units of measurement in order to get a whole number, or at least the simplest fraction I can. So if the measurement works out to an even number of centimeters, but would give me some odd fraction if I did it with inches, guess what? I'm going to use centimeters. And like I said, I'm not trying to trick these kids. I'm really not. Now, I will provide the rulers. And they will get a ruler with both English and metric measurements on it. So that's not a problem. Okay. Any calculations they have to do should be really simple. And they should be mostly whole number calculations. For that reason, I do not allow calculators in the room. I especially don't like cell phones calculators because they can access other things. So they're not allowed. I will provide scratch paper, which I will also collect at the end of the session. Now, that said, the only thing the student absolutely has to bring into the room with them is a pencil. That's it. Maybe two, just in case one breaks, although I will have spare pencils. I always have spare pencils. Okay. I will allow them to bring in a clipboard as long as there's nothing on it, because a lot of the kids do like to put their answer sheet on a clipboard to carry around. And I'm cool with that. That's just fine. Okay. So, the concept and measurement questions, these questions will most likely be worth 2 points. All right. So that's how the competition's going to run. Now, if you're a first-time coach, you're going to be asking, okay, how do I prepare these kids for the event? Okay. There's plenty of material out there. There are library books. You can check with the teachers at your elementary to see what science book, what grade science book covers simple machines, and see what that tells you. Usually grade 4, but I won't, don't hold me to that because different science books, different publishers do it at different points. Okay. Like I said, a lot of library books. This is a book that I particularly like. It's been out for a long time. David McCauley's The Way Things Work. And it's a pretty big book, but about the first 80 pages of this is simple machines. And he's really kind of cool because he, all of his explanations of simple machines basically talk about how to move a mammoth or how to get a mammoth to do work. And it's all with mammoths. So it's kind of fun. But it's a really good basic introduction to the simple machine. So if you can find this one in your library, great. If not, there's plenty of other materials out there. Okay, what about the internet? I used to have a list of websites to send you to. The problem is, from one year to the next, most of the URLs would change. It got to be a pain to do it. So what I recommend is just use the search engine of your choice, type in simple machines, hit go, and you will find. Any questions? Yes.
Where are those Scantron answer sheets available?
Oh, well, if you actually go to Macomb SO and you go to my event, although I'm sure it's probably, in fact, actually the link is a single link from all of the events.
Okay.
But they have this as a sheet that you can print out.
Okay, great. All right, excellent.
Yeah. Then again, your coach, your head coach at your school may be able to just hand you a handful of them.
Okay.
It all depends. But yeah, but you can print them out. It's easy.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, with the pulley and station, will the kids be using the Newton spring scales to measure load?
No, we will not have to make that kind of measurement.
Okay.
What they may have to do though, is I may ask them what the mechanical advantage of that pulley is. Now, they don't have to do that experimentally.
Count the load.
They can count the strands.
Okay.
That's the easiest way.
Is that the
Now, if they
strands-
really want to, and I watch kids do this, I watch them use the ruler and say, pull the string 12 inches, how far did the load move up, measure that distance, and calculate it. Okay, that's the hard way, but it can be done,
Yeah, got it.
you know?
They can touch it though? They can touch this,
Hmm?
they can touch the station?
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, yeah, if I didn't mention that before. Yes, the objects are there specifically for them to touch. They will be instructed not to disassemble anything, because I have had that problem in the past. But, yes, they're allowed to touch them. They're also warned that there may be sharp edges on some of them, so be careful, that type of thing, yeah. But they're definitely allowed to touch.
So then the team is allowed to talk, right?
Oh, yes,
Themselves?
yes.
I don't know, it's our first time.
No, actually, part of my instructions to the kids is, yes, you're a team, you may talk to each other. Because I've got that question so many years from the kids themselves that I just head them off the pass now. Yeah, they're allowed to talk. Now, I do sometimes caution them not to talk too loudly because they don't want to give something away to the team coming behind them. Although that team's usually so engrossed in what they're doing. Most of the kids, just because this came up in the last session, most of the kids do finish all 10 questions in less than the 2 minutes they're allowed. I have had teams that it's almost a joke. They're done with it so fast, they're sitting there, and that's half the problem. Then they start playing with the object, and it can cause problems because they finish their questions. They got another minute to go before they can move on, and they start getting into trouble. I have also had teams, I hate to say it, I have had teams that struggle to get through the first 5 questions at each station in the 2 minutes they're allowed because they've not been properly prepared. They don't know what they're doing. And I feel sorry for the kids. It's not their fault. You know, their coaching hasn't been what it needed to be.
I have one question. I was on the website and I was trying to access some of the things, and it asked for a name and a password, and where do we get that from?
What they've done is they've blocked access to some things because it may have changed from last year to this year, so they blocked the access. And because it was easier than trying to take it all down.
Gotcha. Okay.
All that should be cleared up within a week or so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just for clarification, there's 10 stations with 10 questions per station for a total of 100 questions.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. Now, some of those questions are going to be worth 2 points. So potentially, the raw score for the test could be as high as 150
All
points.
Scantron.
Hmm?
All Scantron.
Yeah, it's all going to be done on the Scantron. Yeah.
I had a question regarding the English and the metric.
Yeah.
I guess I don't understand, because you said you'll pick whatever's the easiest rounded to it.
Yeah.
Now, is that for the question, so they'll know what to measure it by?
Oh, yeah, well, understand, this
I
is going to
guess
be a
that's what I'm-
multiple choice question. So
Right.
the question may be, how long is the effort arm? And their choices, multiple choices, are all going to be either centimeters or all going to be inches.
It's the same, so they just have to.
So all they have to do is look at it and say, oh, I got to measure in inches. Okay?
Good enough.
Or in centimeters, as the case may be.
All right.
Yeah, it's usually pretty simple, yeah.
Now, is there a test booklet at each station or Scantron, or do they just take theirs with them?
Oh, they have to carry the Scantron from station to station, yeah. Yeah, and that's part of their instructions. They carry their answer sheet with them.
Are there negative points for wrong answers?
No.
Or is it just as credit for getting it right?
No, scoring is simply points for correctly answered questions, period. That's it. Yeah, no, I'm not getting into that whole, that